Okay, so do you guys just want to go around similar to last time and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your company and your roles?
Sure. I can start. I'm CEO and co-founder of Jetfuel. We do pay-per-install influencer marketing. Just from listening to a number of the other sessions here, it seems like a lot of people are in the influencer space are focused on these very expensive branded campaigns where you're trying to get brand awareness out there, which I think is great, but that's not at all our focus. We're actually trying to generate installs, and in particular, ROI positive installs. So that's kind of what we focus on.
So my name is Mario. I'm part of Imperia Online. We are a Bulgarian game developer focused on strategy games. So we recently started also with influencer marketing campaigns. Before that, we were doing heavily on Facebook and Google. And yeah, we have some expertise also in Eastern European.
Hello, my name is Olga Wese. Here I'm presented at Jetfuel Olga, but that's not my real name. So I'm a co-founder of Wiki Influencers. We are a Berlin-based agency. Most of our clients are coming from gaming area or gaming like mobile, PC, console games, and we run international campaigns, global campaigns, online, offline, user acquisition, brand awareness, all kind of things, concept creations, and yeah, so we're having our expertise in gaming mainly.
Hello, I'm Maria from Nitro Games. I'm the community manager, a bit of jack of all trades, doing QA localization, community, social media, whatever one not. I'm focusing heavily on the retention side with the influencers instead of new installs.
I'm on mic. I'm Olesja Marjalaakso. I'm a founder and CEO of Polka Studio. We are a small Finnish game developer. We make games for women. Our first game was like Instagram made into a free-to-play game, and being an Instagram game, it's kind of like, well, being a game that tells you a story about Instagram and looks like it felt very natural to launch it with Instagram influencers in Russia. So.
Cool. All right, we've got a pretty cool variation there. So starting right off, best practices to work with influencers. The place where you start is, where do you find your influencers? Is it as easy as opening a platform and searching for someone and going, they'll do? Because it's not at all. What's the process there, do you think?
I can start with being a super small developer, trying to reach any of the bigger names. It was pretty much impossible, and just telling about the game didn't really help. So we got our influencer through one of our investors, Peter Westerbacka, and he happened to know this biggest Russian kind of influencer on YouTube and Instagram, and through him we got access. And because it's an access through a mutual friend stuff, so we also got to deal with so we found our perfect fit for our game.
Well, we're not really researching from scratch, since we're an agency, we're running campaigns at scale. So for us, it's very important to find actually the right influencers. It's more than just covering the top guys who are right now trending or have the most views. We're trying to fit the influencer to the product, not vice versa. We are not a talent agency. It means we have no incentive to sell some specific influencer. So we're really starting with a product. We need to understand what is the audience, who are those guys, what are they interested in, and then based on this we start the contextual research, not only geo, not only age, not only gender group, but really contextual research in terms of games. What is the game? What are the potential competitors or benchmarks? For mobile games, it can be even some top big PC games which would attract the similar audience. And then, of course, we have our own tools. We have a broad portfolio of influencers we have already cooperated, or we know they cooperated with similar games, and we just have this information, since we always research to improve our influencer pool. We can instantly access to, and also obviously you can use different platforms. However, there are really less platforms who can deliver you extensive information in terms of the contextual research. You will have different data about approximate gender or age, but you will not have the tag on the interest or this kind of thing. So I think if you really want to run profitable and good working campaign, you need to do your homework, even if it's manual work. Would you like to say something?
I would agree. I think if you're going for really any influencer that we've heard of, I think they're going to be so astronomically expensive that it's going to be very hard to put together an ROI positive campaign. So one of the places that we first started was with Team 10 down in Los Angeles, which is like a group of very trendy influencers. And I got in touch with their agent, and they offered me the lowest following guy first for about $3,000 and told me a Snapchat story gets between 50,000 and 100,000 views. And then we said no to that. It wasn't going to work out. And then we later found an account that could deliver that same amount of views for about $70, right? So when you work with the top of the top, there's a lot of people that have huge followings. And the top people are crazy expensive, and it's very hard to get ROI. And then there's a huge segment of other people who aren't expensive and don't have ad deals. And largely what we've done with our platform is we've made good offers accessible. And then the influencers who don't have deal flow, who don't have ads that are looking to make money, actually come to us. So that's kind of our approach. We let them pick us, not the other way around.
Yeah, did you have something to say, Mario? Oh.
Yeah, basically, this is also our approach. And what I wanted to add was like different kind of platforms which has all the influencers in them could be beneficial for you, just to know the names, but that's not enough. Like basic numbers such as followers or number of views won't do the job. You need to make your own homework and check everything from how they feel on camera, the content they have, what are the news on the internet for them, and everything around there. This is not an easy task.
Can I? Yeah, sure.
One more addition. All of this is great, but we also use tools and data to find the influencers inside the games. Sometimes they may not be yet big enough online, but we also help them to grow with us, and they are very dedicated influencers after that.
Okay. Leading on from that, there was something that you suggested, which is the 3 I's method, which was investigate, integrate, and issues. Could you just take us through those 3 steps and why they're kind of important to your process?
In short, well, the investigate already came up here. There's many different ways to investigate and find and make sure that the influencer is the right one. Integrating. With that, I actually referred to the earlier said finding the influencers inside the game. One good example is that we launched a game called Heroes of Warland. It's very esports oriented, and we found out that the esports scene has a lot of big teams, and they actually sent their minions to find out new games, and they will check first how is the community, how is the game, how is the potential, is it growing, and is it esports worthy, and then if they really like it, they will invest heavily with their teams, and they are actually willing to give you tournaments and everything. So you actually want to spot them quite early and make sure that they will stay with you. With the issues, you need to prepare for everything. There's a couple good examples. We had a very huge influencer called Hugo Herman. And after having him making some videos, all of our chats, Discord, everything was filled with Ola. And all of our, let's say, US players and European players were like, what happened? Like, the chat is full of Ola, and they were expecting, did we full on focus only on the Brazilian servers or something like that? So we kind of had to, jump up with the information that we shared that, hey, we did make this campaign and this is where it's coming from, and hey, we still have our local servers going on and we can set up more servers to suit better communication with them. And
okay. So. In that kind of crisis situation, is your brand the priority in that kind of situation? If you're dealing with an influencer that is causing a myriad of issues, is the brand the paramount thing to protect there?
Good question. Of course, the brand is the big thing. Sometimes it can turn out as a benefit, of course. Like in this case, they were like, oh, we got new players, that's a good thing. Sometimes you may find out if you did not follow the investigate properly first, that the content creator may not be something that you're looking for, you may not have the same values, or suddenly there's some new things revealing about that influencer. And you need to prepare legal-wise, and you need to be prepared to put out PR information or comment about it and actually step in early enough to make sure that you are not agreeing what the content creator is doing. Just like be very active and ready for every scenario, basically.
Anyone else got a question?
Well, I also would agree with colleague that you really need to protect yourself on the legal side, first of all. It means that you need to think of all possible things what might go wrong. Wrong presentation of your brand, wrong presentation or wrong content you're integrated in, and like everything what can happen in a wrong way on the influencer side. But you also have to prepare your server. For example, first of all, we had some stream with one of the biggest German influencers until it stopped working because everybody wanted to play with him together at this specific moment. So this is something obviously not on the influencer side, but the developer, the publisher has to do some work in terms of preparation for the campaign. Or we had events, offline events, where way more people appeared than we could potentially think of. So this kind of errors on your side, we should at least try to think of all possible options. And also, what's important is a very good established communication with the performing influencer, because if something is going on at this specific moment, you need this influencer or his manager, if it's exclusive relationship, to be on the track. And even if it's like 12 a.m. in the morning, it doesn't matter. They need to be in contact with you constantly so you can actually fix this issues.
Okay. So the topic of numbers came up very briefly earlier, and we're in a situation now where the biggest influencers might not, be the best selection for the budget that you have. So thinking about that, I think, Tim, you said that the influencers quite often come to you, and I imagine that you will get a lot of smaller influencers coming in looking for deals.
No, they're pretty big.
Oh, okay.
Is this on? Yeah. No, we just work with different segments. There are certain groups of people that attract massive followings that just for whatever reason don't attract comparable ad deals, and you can find them.
Okay. Do you find
we only do big? Honestly, so you have a finite amount of time, right? And one of the things that I think prevents micro-influencers is a very buzzy subject. People love talking about it. And I think it feels very interesting. But, I mean, it's very difficult to maintain relationships and communicate with people. So we mostly focus on quite large accounts, just purely for focusing on time.
Okay, so do you have a practice on your end where you kind of go through these people that are applying to you and decide who is the best fit, and how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, we let everyone in that's going to be above a certain threshold. We don't have a distinct follower count, but it's typically like in the 50 to 100 plus K, so like quite large accounts, yeah.
Okay. Leading on from that, is there any ways to kind of utilize influencers past content creation? Are there other ways you can use them, maybe as brand ambassadors or at events or things like that?
You can go first.
Definitely, and I think that in 2020 you will see more brands doing that. So shifting from old school, simple shout-outs and just like posts, Instagram stories, shout-outs on YouTube, into more creative content connected with some creative idea which would go throughout the whole video, or some offline campaign which would then be represented online, giveaways, and other type of like multi-influencer campaigns where you actually can leverage the influencer and his engagement from many different angles. Like let's say organize meet and greet connected to some specific event of the game. So then you have a community, then you have content on diverse platforms which would cover the whole event, and then you have something connected with the product, like giveaway or showcase the product to the community offline, and you connect it with the online video, where it's already way more than just a shout out, what usually companies do as a first stage. So these kind of solutions, they would help you to leverage influencer community better and create something more fun for them also to perform. So you can actually expect a higher engagement of influencer himself to do.
Actually, the campaign we did with the Russian influencer, we actually integrated her pretty heavily into the game. So it's a styling game that looks and acts like Instagram. So we had a week-long event where you could dress like, so we had like this influencer challenges, styling challenges from the life of an influencer, and you played this board game with the stars, and at the end you could win exactly same clothes that the influencer had in her closet, and the ultimate prize was to have like her 2 dogs so you can use them as your accessories in your styling posts. So that engagement, so it's like the influencer had a very engaged user base, and they engaged in a game with her, so it was like a trio. And like our next plan was, because the influencers are already working with different fashion brands, so offering our game as a kind of extension of a campaign with an influencer, so then you can add a game as a part of that campaign. But well, unfortunately we never get there, but maybe in the future.
From the developer side, since I'm heavily also invested in doing the actual games with the devs, with one of the games we noticed that, okay, our tutorial sucks. Let's be honest, it did suck. And we saw massive drop on the tutorials, that people did not understand how do they shoot, how do they move. And I'm thinking, okay, we can spend all this time on creating a new tutorial, or we can spend the time, but meanwhile, let's come up with a idea how to fix it right now, and that was to create videos with the influencers. So they actually were teaching the other players, doing the videos, and people watching the videos created a really good buzz and communicate with the influencers inside the game, on the chat and Discord and so on. And it created a meaningful path for the influencers as well, because they felt like these people need me. They don't know how to play without me guiding them. And that was really like, it felt good for the influencers as well.
Okay. Anything to add? No? Okay. So I'm thinking about how influence marketing is just, to a lot of people, just another form of advertising. But I think in the last few years it's really come into its own, and a lot of influencers are building brands just based on authenticity and who they are as people. And there's a lot of focus on mental health and disability, and influencers doing charity work and things like that. So if you're working for, I don't know, for example, a charity, or you're doing some kind of cause of that effect, how do you make it more about the money to those influencers? How would you bring them on board, in different ways, I guess emotionally?
I'm not really understanding the questions.
I guess it's pretty easy when you make a campaign with a certain influencer to see if they like your product or not, or if they believe in the idea you're trying to sell them. The good thing is that nowadays influencers, they get the idea that it's really important what they're posting, and it's not anymore about the brand. If their content is not looking authentic, they're starting to losing their followers. It pretty much makes no sense when we're seeing someone who is like promoting always the health benefits of some kind of products because he's working with that given brand, and in his next video he's promoting cigarettes. So basically they're the one who will decide if your product is fitting them or not.
Maybe it's also important to mention that many brands forgot what they're dealing with. So they use influencer marketing channel as a channel for normal advertising. They give a scripted, hardcore written scripts which the influencer has to follow. And if he will put a little bit of creativity in this brand, in this brief, then a lot of the times brand just doesn't want to accept it. So we need to do changes. So we need to remember that influencer marketing are coming actually with influencer, right? We cannot use it as a simple reading, advertisement reading channel. We should leverage his personal brand and put it on the top of your product, and not vice versa. Because influencers are coming with a huge or with engaged community, and this would be smart for a brand to find the right fit for the influencer. Not like, I like PewDiePie, I definitely want to book PewDiePie. PewDiePie might take your product, but it doesn't have to work in the end for the brand. So it's very important to find, whatever the influencer is, to find that the right fit, and then give the influencer the creative freedom to actually build a good campaign for you, obviously under you curating this process.
One thing is that they are humans, as we are all, and we need to treat them as humans. We had one influencer inside the community, not a big name, at least not yet, but I always tell them that, hey, you do your videos when you want to do them. We are not rushing you in. Sometimes we do not set exact dates or times unless it's like a global launch or something like that. And they can come to me as they can send me a private message and say, I have a kid sick today, I can't do something. And that is absolutely fine, and we make sure that it's actually fine. One of the influencers we had, he had his camera broken, and he was devastated about it. So we actually helped the community together, because he did set up a GoFundMe to get new stuff, new equipment. We shared it with the community, and all of our game community helped the guy to get a new camera to continue the streaming. So it is also very important for us to understand what drives them to do the videos or streams. Is it just a hobby, or is it something that they actually want to do every day as a living? Is it their dream, or is it just a secondary thing to create more money? And I hope it's not just the money usually.
Okay, so just to round up then, what is one tip that you would give the people in this room to take away to keep their campaigns as authentic as they possibly can be?
So just to granted, we do performance advertising. We're solely focused on generating ROI for our clients. This is not something we spend that much time thinking about, is brand authenticity. We tend to look at a social post from influencer as not fundamentally different than a programmatic ad served by Facebook. And maybe we're off base, but it seems to be working really well for our clients. One thing that I kind of struggle with as a performance advertiser, someone that is trying to generate installs for the products that I make, is I think a lot of what gets wrapped up in brand authenticity is optimizing for not annoying your followers rather than generating installs, right? And as the advertiser, you should care about that. And in fact, some of the ads we do, for example, TikTok is a big client of ours, and we do these incredibly annoying ads for TikTok. That's basically, TikTok's a video platform, right? It'll be the beginning of a really interesting video, and then it'll stop halfway through and say, download TikTok to watch the rest of the video, which drives people nuts, but it is incredibly effective, and we've delivered hundreds of thousands of installs for TikTok, which, by the way, if you're wondering why TikTok is taking off, it's because they're buying the users with us, among other platforms. So my hot take on it, I guess, as a performance advertiser, I sort of reject the question, and that's the way we think about these things.
When it comes to authenticity, let's say that the most important thing here is, in my opinion, don't trust numbers. No matter how many followers, video views, and so on they have, the first thing you need to know is, do they fit your brand? Just imagine having that Playboy model showing your strategy game and saying that this is the best game ever, and ask yourself, does this look authentic? And if it's not, then just pick the right one.
Well, I'll probably repeat myself that brands should think more in terms of representing their brand in a more creative way, stop copying each other and stop copying each other's briefs, and just really create something what fits your product, and then find an influencer who actually can represent this all.
I would say that try to think more than just the one campaign, one video, one mention. Think forward. What happens after the campaign? Do you want to be friends with the influencer? Do you want to do repetitive campaigns with this guy? I personally like to be in the level with these people that I can say hi if I meet them everywhere, or I can invite them to our country or into our offices. That way I can get more details and go deeper with the campaigns and understand what drives the people, and that usually creates better content as well. And it helps me to give better assets for the content creator to create better videos.
I don't know if I can actually. I've only worked with one influencer on one big campaign, but how we approached it was to work with the influencer and see what they could also get out of the cooperation with us. And the big thing for the Russian influencer was that she was super big in Russian-speaking countries, but she also had an English-speaking channel that she was trying to grow. So our agreement was that if the game goes forward, that we will kind of return the favor on after global launch. Now that she helped us in Russia, so if we ever get there, that we would help. So like kind of thinking and working on it together, and seeing if we could kind of work together on if she has some deals with brands and so if we can extend and expand her offering also, that okay, I have this many followers on Instagram, I have this many on YouTube, and then I have this game where I can bring some interaction, and these are ways that we could build it. So that was the whole kind of our approach to it.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Just to voice the dissent one more time. I would argue it's funny that you brought up like a Playboy model. I actually think that would be a phenomenal fit for most mobile games. This is a particular segment of influencers. Are there any models? Hopefully not. It's one that we've really tremendously struggled to work with, particularly like the bikini models, which is a huge segment of Instagrammers. They only want to promote bikinis, but their audience is 95% male, right? So this is the worst type of performance campaign, and it's very authentic and brand aligned in a sense, but it generates zero conversions. And if we could get them to promote Fortnite instead, we'd be millionaires, but we can't do it. So this is where I sort of struggle and reject a lot of the sentiment of brand alignment and brand authenticity, at least from a performance standpoint.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for that, guys. It's an awesome variation of insight. So give them a hand. Thank you.